log in. So, fellas, this is Devin Pearson. He's a good buddy of mine. He's a scout for the Boston Red Sox. So, just wanted to introduce you guys. Went to Cal. He was drafted out of high school. Ended up going to Cal. Played at Cal for 4 years, and then after obviously got into scouting, stuff like that. So, we'll break down his background, kind of his high school career, the process that he went through in terms of recruiting, what was there, what wasn't there. There's tons of showcases, tons of recruiting stuff online in terms of Instagram, Twitter, all that, where it might not have been as relevant back then. His path to kind of the NBA, MLB draft when he was in high school. His reason maybe not to sign, but to take the college route. His college career, some of the highs and lows that he had. He had an injury in college, so we'll touch a little bit about the mental toughness and kind of what he went through when he was rehabbing. When he was getting back onto the playing field, and then we'll dive into his job as a scout with the Red Sox, and then kind of the differences. That maybe he looks at in terms of an amateur scout, where he's looking at high school kids, college kids, stuff like that, opposed to maybe what some guys are putting out there in terms of recruiting services, showcases, kind of what they're gauging on, just to kind of see, not necessarily what eyewash is, but someone that's, at a higher, authority in the baseball industry in terms of scouting and recruiting and stuff like that, kind of give you an in-depth look at, what an MLB scout looks for a college kid or a high school kid, opposed to just, spin rates and exit velos and stuff that you guys see online. So I'll let Devin take it from here, and then we can close with some questions that you guys might have and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Awesome opportunity to talk to you guys. And like Matt said, good friend of his. So whenever he needs something, I'll be there. Little bit on my journey. I guess, Matt, do you want to just go through and ask questions and I can kind of hit on those topics, or you want me just to ramble?
Yeah, sure. If you want to I think I gave a decent background, but, we'll start with your high school career. So if you want to touch base on, your high school career, where you went to high school, and kind of the process of how you went throughout the recruiting process. Was there area codes? Was PBR relevant? Did you just do kind of perfect game? Did you just kind of, rely on the tournaments that you were in for exposure, that type of stuff?
Yeah, so my story is a little unique in that sense with recruiting and the showcases and all that stuff. I did 0 showcases, 0 area codes, 0 summer baseball. I was all football all the time. Was committed to Stanford for football since my sophomore year of high school. That was the goal. That was a dream. Was pumped to do that. And then my senior year, the defensive coordinator at Stanford left. A new guy came in, released all the recruits, brought in his own guys. So I was left sitting there January of my senior year, kind of wondering, well, what the heck am I going to do now? The baseball season was coming up. And at that point, I thought I was going to play football at San Diego State, but just got a lot of heat once the baseball season started rolling, and a lot of guys coming in from MLB teams to colleges to watch me play. I realized that maybe I had a better opportunity going the baseball route. So I ended up getting offers from Cal, Oregon, UC Santa Barbara, and ultimately decided to go to Cal, close to home. And that's a little bit of a piece of advice for you guys is whatever decision you do make for college, it has to be your decision. A lot of people in my ear saying to go to Oregon for this reason, go to Santa Barbara for this reason. Well, for me at the time, my mom was sick, so being close to home was the most important thing to me. And deciding to go to Cal was a no-brainer. So ultimately ended up going there and loved it. But from a recruiting standpoint, my advice to you guys would be there are so many opportunities out there where you don't have to pay money to get seen. So there are a lot of good showcases out there where you do have to pay money, and if that's what you choose to do, great. I know PG National, Perfect Game, everything they do, PBR, a lot of showcases. But there are still ways to get seen if you maybe don't have the means to go to those events. And we can talk about that online, like some of those options and what you can do. But I would just tell you that for your college decision, make sure it's yours.
That's great. And that also shows a lot of these guys on here too. That's a good story. There was a path for you. You had something lined up, and just like this, it changed. So that's the instead of just kind of crumbling, feeling bad, and you kind of rolled with it. Found another outlet, found another opportunity, and then kind of took advantage of that. A lot of guys in your situation nowadays, would have their dreams shattered and, might go down a bad path or might kind of stumble because, that was end all for them and, kind of really drops them. So that's a good thing in terms of, perseverance. Not everything is going to be just as you planned, but kind of making the adjustments along the way.
That's a great point, man. I think the key to that is just embracing your path. Like, there's going to be times you're going to be frustrated and you're going to be wondering, like, man, I really want to just commit to a school. Like, where am I going to go? Like, I can't, my buddy just committed here. And like, I'm jealous or whatever reason. Like, there's a path for everybody. And at the end of the day, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. So just keep hope and just keep trucking through, and something's going to work out for you guys.
Yeah, one thing that I've told a lot of our kids at Root too is that control what you control. Especially in a time like this with even the the virus going on. You can control certain things in terms of your career, your training, things like that, opposed to just kind of sulking and being like, oh shit, we're not playing, and not doing anything and feeling bad for yourself. So control what you can control and just kind of go from there. Let's see. So talked about your colleges, your options. Now, what about the draft? So when did you said it was your senior year that kind of guys really started clicking on the draft?
Yeah. So senior year, again, like a lot of people started coming in to watch us play. Agents coming into the house, try to get me to sign with them. Ultimately, my thought was I really valued my education, and if I didn't go in the top 5 rounds, I wanted to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of wanted to bet on myself that I could get better and down the road get drafted in top 5 rounds. Obviously, that didn't happen, but at that time, that was my thought process. Ended up getting drafted in the 30th round by the Blue Jays. They just picked me late and tried to throw some money at me, see if they could get me to sign. Went to PF Chang's and they made an offer, but did not sign it. Yeah, free dinner is all I got out of it in the hat. So that was the right decision for me. My advice to most kids, and I wouldn't say this necessarily with a Red Sox hat on, but you just have to sit down with your family and really think about what dollar amount for you guys is going to be enough to pass up on that opportunity to not go to school right away. And I say right away because most teams will pay for all of your education if you do sign out of high school. And that's everything included, room and board, tuition. So you end up getting a free education versus most college scholarships for baseball are 25% to 50%, and then there's a few that get that 100%. So just something to think about, but for me, that ultimately was the right decision.
And guys, I don't know if we touched on this though, but Devin's from California, so that was going to Cal, like he had said, is staying home. You were just talking about the scouts and stuff like that, being at games. Not too many in our region. There's not too many scouts, flooding the high school games and that. So a little bit different demographic in terms of our nation, but just
if you see Ray Fagnet out there, that's our Red Sox area scout. Say hi. He's kind of a legend.
All right, so let's go into your college career. So talk about the beginning of your college career at Cal. Your highs, your lows. I know you had an injury, so if you want to touch base on that kind of process, how you got through that injury process, and still stayed motivated. I know you took on, I think, the DH approach from there on, but if you want to touch base on that, like I said, the mental aspect and training and stuff.
Yeah, so I guess I'll just go through each year of college. Freshman year, had no expectations. Was honestly just happy to be on the team and kind of figured I'd be competing for a starting role, but didn't know if I'd start. Ended up starting, had a really good year. 1 week left in the season, thought for sure I'd be a freshman All-American, was hitting 330. Then we ran into this guy named Mark Appel. I don't know if you've heard of him. First overall pick. Went 0 for 5 the first day against Stanford. Went 0 for the second day against Stanford. Went 0 for the third day against Stanford. And my average dropped down to 302. I wasn't a freshman All-American. So that was kind of a kick in the nuts. Ended up going to summer ball, which was an awesome experience. Hope you guys get that opportunity. Went to the Northwoods League my freshman year, played for the St. Cloud Rocks. We played 72 games in 75 days, and it was an absolute grind. But we sold out every single game. We were on TV every single day. So really cool experience, kind of a look into minor league baseball. I had an awesome host family, got to play with some really good dudes. Sophomore year, or last game of summer ball, I tore my labrum in my left shoulder diving into a base. Come back to Cal, get surgery in the fall, end up hitting a $192 my sophomore year. A lesson for me was I was not ready to go back and play, but I didn't want to miss any games, and I went in there and was not myself and was constantly searching to find my swing and my approach, and really, really struggled for the first time in my life. So mentally, like Matt touched on, I kind of had to take a step back and realize, one, this is just a game. Had bigger things going on in my life at that time to put that into perspective. Just realize that, hey, yeah, I'm struggling, but I'm going to get through this. And all I can do is be a good teammate, continue to compete, and whatever happens, happens. So that was a wake-up call for sure. Ended up playing a little better at the end of the year, my sophomore year, then broke my hand the last game of the season at the University of Oregon 2 days before my flight.
You shouldn't have spent the last game of the season. You should have just been taken off the card. Like, no more last games of the season after that.
I remember it like yesterday. We were doing infield, outfield, and we finished with this diving drill for some reason. I was an outfielder, and we finished with this diving drill, and my hand got stuck in the turf, spiral fractured my finger, broke my hand, and 2 days later I was supposed to fly out to the Cape and play for the Orleans Firebirds. So they replaced me with the center fielder from USC, which was obviously one of our rivals. So that was another kick in the nuts. And then going to my junior year, feeling healthy for the first time in a while, really excited. We had a really good team. Hit for the cycle Friday night against Chicago State. Saturday, second at bat, broke my hamate. This was like 3 weeks into the season. Missed a month. And my mindset that whole time was like, we're going to make a playoff push. When I get back, I got to be 100% to help this team. Came back, ended up hitting like 400 the rest of the year. Went to the regionals. If you look up Cal versus Texas A&M in the regionals, it's one of the best games of all time on YouTube. Highly recommend watching that. Walk-off, I think the 13th inning, one of my roommates hit. So really fun time. We ended up losing in the regional championship, but was a great, great year. Senior year, we're ranked number 8 in the country. We're kicking everybody's ass. We're the first team in like 10 years, 15 years to sweep Texas at home. Then we lose our Friday guy, Dalton Jeffries, who ultimately was a first-round pick of the A's. But we were good enough to have him win on Friday, and our Saturday guy was good enough to win on Saturday. But our Saturday guy was not good enough to win on Fridays. So we went down a rabbit hole and struggled for a while. Ended up not making the playoffs, from 8th to the country, not making the playoffs. But the biggest kick in the nuts for me was I tore my labrum, rotator cuff, and subscap in my right shoulder. So I had to DH the entire year. So once that season was done, I was over with baseball, which Matt kind of alluded to. And, I had opportunities to sign with teams in the draft. Didn't really want to do a year of rehab at an affiliate. Kind of wanted to just get healthy first and see if I wanted to get back into the game. And just ended up walking away for a while, and then obviously circled back. But that's kind of the college experience for you guys in a long-winded answer.
A lot of downs, a lot of ups and then downs, huh?
A lot of downs, man. And actually, one part I left out was my junior year. The Mariners called me in the 11th round and said, hey, we're going to take you. Are you going to sign? And I'm being stubborn again. I said, I'm not going to sign unless it's the top 10 rounds. I can go back to school, play. go in the 10th round as a senior or whatever. But ultimately turned up being a good thing because I would have failed the physical anyway. So everything does happen for a reason, but that's another little tidbit to that.
So tons of mental stuff there, tons of
For
stuff
sure.
that a lot of guys I think would crumble after one or two of those. That's the obviously being from this area. I remember listening to the interview of Rob Gronkowski, talking about that mental approach and how draining it is that you're training and you're finally getting back on track, and then all of a sudden you're back on track, you have some success, and then boom, something else happens. You finally see the end of the tunnel, and then black.
You start thinking, why me? But I was lucky, man. I had a really good support system, and I had people in my life that had been through harder stuff, and they weren't going to feel bad for me, so I wasn't going to feel bad for myself, And I was lucky. My dad was a professional athlete, so I mean, he just kind of stuck with me and told me, this is the process, man. You got to keep grinding, and even if you don't play, something will turn out good for you. So
keep grinding. That was the when this whole virus thing happened. That's route 2. We kind of coined the phrase for our guys. Keep grinding. It's something we can't control that we're not playing right now, but they've put so much effort in over the last 4.5 months to just stop because we're not playing ball right now. Don't feel sorry for yourself. I know there's a lot of seniors out there that they might not be able to play high school ball. Maybe come the end of this week, depending on what our state decides to do. But there's summer ball. There's guys that are going to have the chance to play at the collegiate level next year as a freshman. Don't stalemate because nothing's going on right now. Because eventually, once baseball comes back, you're gonna be needed to be put into full gear, real quick. So we kind of went in that keep grinding approach. And a lot of these guys on here, they'll send me videos, they'll send me breakdowns, stuff like that. They're putting in the work. Some of them are rehabbing. Some have had injuries or issues from the past. So it's the mental approach that we're trying to instill. It's nice to hear and see someone that was highly touted. They're now in an MLB organization working in baseball, kind of still go through those same things that some of these guys are going to go through or have gone through in the last couple of years. So
no doubt, and that'll carry you guys for life, man. I mean, there is a life after baseball for everybody, even Hall of Fame players. So keeping that mindset and everything is huge.
Yeah. I mean, that's like you just said, even in life, you're going to these kids are going to go on from college. They're going to graduate. They're going to get a job, and they're going to be in a sales force or something, or whatever their job is. And there's going to be failure. It's at the end of the day, you're going to turn the light off and go home and feel bad for yourself that you didn't close on 3 deals, or you're going to stay work longer or wake up earlier the next day and try to go in and kill it and make up for those 3 deals. So.
Right. For sure.
So what, now that we've gone through the college kind of ranks, what was your opportunity in terms of scouting? How did you get started with the Red Sox? How did that door open? And, what was your initial reaction, when that opportunity came around?
Yeah. So like I said, after I graduated from school, I just needed a break from baseball. Ended up working commercial real estate for about 3 months. And I like to say I'm not a quitter, but I definitely quit. We just had a bad environment, and coming straight out of the locker room to where I was working. Commercial real estate's a great avenue, but my company that I was with was not on the same page with one another, and seeing guys steal deals from their own teammates, I just wasn't into that. So I ended up leaving, moving back home. My hometown is Carmel, California, which is the neighboring city of Pebble Beach. So I worked for the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of that golf tournament or if you guys even like golf, but worked there, and that was an awesome experience, and realized I just missed baseball. Kind of looking back, it had always driven me, and it had always been an important part of my life and like a sanctuary for me away from other stuff. And then out of the blue, got a call from our now scouting director, Paul Taboni, who asked me if I'd be interested in an interviewing with an internship with the Red Sox. And I was like, hell yeah, dude. So got on the plane, went out to Boston, interviewed, got the job, flew back out the next week. So in a 2-week span, I was fully moved in Boston and kind of grinding my way up from there. But never visioned getting into scouting, never thought about it.
Just kind of stumbled upon it.
Yeah.
All right. That's similar. When I had, I know you and I had touched upon a few times, I think at dinner, some of my path in college. And, when I had graduated, I basically took a year off too, because I was just, there was too much, excuse my language. There was a lot of BS going around, and I was just, I just needed 1 year to just, get away from certain stuff.
Yep.
And then I had an opportunity to be an assistant, volunteer assistant at Brandeis under Coach Varney, and I just kind of, stumbled upon it type thing. And I was itching back then to get back into the game. After like 8 months, you're kind of like, you understand that there's the ups and downs, and there can be a lot of BS in it, and it's a draining experience sometimes. But the love of the game never leaves you, and eventually you start itching, and I was itching. And I don't think that if maybe I didn't take that year off, it would have kind of maybe drowned me out a little bit more. Whereas maybe I would have wanted to stop and then not kind of be where I am now. But I think similar to you, that 1 year kind of refreshed, not my memory, but kind of the love of the game and stuff that I was missing, and, kind of the camaraderie, the competitive nature, the brotherhood type thing. And then I needed to dive back into it. And then, that small opportunity has kind of carried me now to where I am with Route 2 and kind of doing, the BP and the pitching stuff. So.
Yeah, that's a great point too. Like for me, it ended up being, I needed baseball. Baseball didn't necessarily need me, right? But for other people, like when you guys eventually get out of the game, like there's going to be other stuff, other opportunities that you're going to be excited about and feel like that's your calling. And it might not even be your job. It might be you like your job because it gives you the ability to do X, Y, and Z on the weekends, or it gives you the ability to be with your family, and that's what you value more than anything. So it's just really finding, like, goes back to the same thing, but finding your path. And once you know what brings you happiness and what's important to you, just lock it in and don't give up on whatever that dream is.
So how to get started? So, now that we're in it, you're with the Red Sox. What has kind of been your roles as you progress through the organization from maybe when you started through, 2008 when they had won the World Championship, and then to kind of where you are now in your role now?
Yeah, so, when I first got started, I was a pro scouting intern. And when I say intern, I was at coffee runs. I did all the Excel spreadsheets. I did everything. I kind of had the mindset, again, like I'm going to compete. There's 2 other interns. Like I'm going to land this full-time job. Ended up getting offered a full-time job halfway through my internship as the amateur scouting assistant. And what really that meant is you take care of a lot of the administrative duties in the draft, the video, making sure all the players' medicals are in, IDs are in. And then you get a little exposure to scouting, but not a ton. From there, I went to amateur coordinator, where I was out more, dealing with our scouting staff more, seeing players, really trying to help whatever we needed to do to get to the next level. Now I'm the assistant director of amateur scouting. So it's myself and our scouting director who worry about the day-to-day operations, the processes, the player selection. I'm on the road a ton, but for me, I love that. And just trying to give the Red Sox, I'm sure you guys all know we need to replenish the farm system. So we're working on it. Give us a little bit of time, okay?
That's great. So now, since we're still in the scouting, a lot of these kids, we got a couple older kids, juniors, seniors, some sophomores, couple college kids on here. So, all in the amateur ranks. There's a lot of stuff out there in terms of, your spin rate, your exit velo, certain parameters and kind of analytical database surrounding all positions. What a lot of these, they'll go to or they'll see on the PBR, exit velo and stuff like that. And something that I was talking about earlier when Brendan had mentioned something and Xander is, I saw a scouting report the other day from PBR New England, and they had everyone has potential, everyone has a ceiling. They had an individual that was ranked number 3 in the whole entire region as the best third baseman. And this is over, I think I counted 9 in New England, 9 kids in his class that are Division I commits that have been playing varsity since freshman year, legit talent. And this individual, not really to blast him, he hasn't rostered a varsity level team. He does struggle at the plate, but it was one of those PBR showcases where he legit took a Happy Gilmore hack or a regular hack off a tee. And, I think they get like 10 swings and they post that highest velo. So, his velos could have been 83, 83, 83 or whatever it is. And then all of a sudden he gets a hold of one good one and it could be, flawed, but that thing spikes and that's the highest velo. And they go off certain things like that. What is it for these guys that, you look at in a high school or college player, opposed to some of these scouting, I guess agencies and how important is the exit velos, the, certain parameters considered to just being present, say at a PG or an area codes and seeing a kid play and be like, that dude's a gamer. Like, I don't care about his launch angle. He barrels up the ball. He's fast. He busts his ass. That's the guy that's going to win me a game, like right now, not in a couple more months working on some things, stuff like that.
Yeah, so I think for us, our perspective is we don't really care what the player is right now. Our job is to project on what they're going to be in 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
So exit velo, all that stuff's great, but it's just a small piece of the picture when you're scouting a player, right? So, for example, you have guys maybe at the high school level that hit for high exit velo, but their body's maxed out. There's no projection for strength gain. There's maybe limited bat speed, and they're kind of maxed out for where they're at now. The guy that excites me is the guy – my keys, what I look at for hitting are bat speed, bat-to-ball skills, and their ability to manipulate their barrel for contact. So, like, I would always tell young hitters to just train your swing to be able to adjust as many pitches as possible and to be able to hit as many pitches as possible hard. I wouldn't get caught in the exit velocity at all. I would just worry about your approach. The highest guys that are going to go in the draft from a high school perspective are going to be the guys that have the best at bats against the best competition, but they also have tools to project on them getting better, From a pitching standpoint, spin rate gets a lot of love nowadays. Spin rate's awesome, really cool that we have that technology. But again, just another piece of the puzzle that leads to pitch quality, right? So you can have a really high spinning fastball, but your vertical and horizontal movement might not be at a good level of quality to have success in the college games or even in the big leagues. So we look more at the whole picture of the pitch movement rather than just the spin rate. I told Matt this story, but I was at Area Codes sitting with the Stanford coaching staff, who ironically was my Cal staff, and this kid broke off like a really high spinning breaking ball. And they're all excited. They're like, oh, man, Dev, did you see that breaking ball? Like, this kid's really exciting. And I just had to tell him that that's great that he spins the ball high and efficiently, but the movement of his breaking ball is going to be way more important. For example, like a guy can spin a breaking ball at 76 miles an hour. Like Carter Stewart, I don't know for those of you that keep up with the draft, but Carter Stewart got a lot of love because he had the best spin rate breaking ball of all time. Well, if you watch Carter Stewart pitch, he's only creating one type of depth on his breaking ball consistently. And as he gets into minor league baseball, he's going to have to learn different ways to create better quality and shape on that pitch to have success. So the spin rate gives him a chance, but it's not the end all be all of his pitch quality, if that makes sense.
Kind of opens the door type thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cool, fun fact, but if you can spin the hell out of it and you can't land it consistently or you can't create any depth or you're throwing it at 72 miles an hour, like that just doesn't work in today's game. Not meaning you can't get better because everybody can get better, but it's not like that kid's the best pitcher in the country because of that.
Yeah, we had Dan Metzdorf. Dan, because you had scouted him when he was at BC. I think you said when we were at dinner one night, you had seen him, over 20 times, or you've seen 40 videos, things like that. You guys had a lot of stuff on him, and he was helping us out this past winter. And one of the things that he said in the White Sox camp, and kind of what they were talking about was the spin rate, but then also, like you said, being able to manipulate that. Because once you now get into that professional level, yeah, you have that spin rate, but if it's doing the same thing every time, and, the vertical axis, all that is the same, one time through the order, you're done. That,
Right.
I mean, even three batters, depending on how guys pick up in the box, how much, analytics and stuff are going on in the dugout, and how many guys, have that information. I mean, that could be one or two batters and he could be done, so that was the big thing that he was working on this off season was, different pitch design, pitch grips, keeping that spin rate, but manipulating it in kind of certain ways that's going to benefit him competing at a professional level opposed to, a collegiate level.
For sure. And I think that goes back to a good point that you brought up of like pitch design. So I would worry more about as a younger age pitcher, instead of my spin rate or my data, whatever, but how can I make my pitches play well off of each other, right? So if I'm a four-seam fastball guy and I tend to get some vertical ride, then I want to create a breaking ball from the same slot that's going to go down, because your eyes can only pick up the ball so well. So making as many pitches as you can look the same until the last second is how you create the most effective mix.
That's huge right now with that tunneling effect, with Driveline, with some of the guys that you see out there with those kind of high frequency cameras where you can actually look at the tunneling on the release and stuff from the actual break. That's huge. That's one thing that I've been promoting to a lot of these guys is, tunneling, consistent arm speed, consistent release point. Some guys might, drop down more so on a two-seamer than their four-seamer, their changeup, stuff like that, keeping everything consistent, getting that tunneling, and kind of creating that movement. So everything looks the same, say, until 75% or so down the tube, and then it starts to break, or then it starts to work and kind of manipulate the hitter. So,
yeah, for sure. Within that too, Matt, like I want to just make it a point that when you're doing all this high level stuff with the data and pitch mix and all that, that's in a training environment.
Yeah.
When you get a game, it's time to compete your ass off and beat who's ever in the box. Throw a bunch of strikes, go right after them, and just compete. If you're worried about, can I manipulate the pitch to this degree against this hitter, you're screwed.
Yeah, you're gonna start forcing it in there.
Yeah.
And we have the Rapsodo hitting. Xander grabbed a pitch logic ball or a Diamond Kinetic. I have a Diamond Kinetic ball. Some guys, like Xander, he's been on a Rapsodo, so he has some type of, spin rate kind of guidance of, he was working with one of the Holy Cross coaches at a little clinic. So, they kind of benchmarked of, what Holy Cross pitches are at, kind of where he's at. So it kind of gives some type of benchmark, kind of where collegiate pitchers are at to, some high school guys, or maybe collegiate pitchers to, professional pitchers. We have Rapsodo for hitting. And it's not so much to kind of wow the kids that they can crush the ball and get exit velo, but what our hitting coaches do is they'll break down their swing mechanics while using the exit velo. They'll take their top data and be like, this is where you want to be. And they kind of use it more so as a mechanical cue. If you can kind of continually get those certain metrics consistent, based off of your best, I guess, metrics, that's where that feedback is coming in terms of consistency in your swing while you're training. And like you said, obviously, once you get into the field, it's F all that, just compete and try to win the game. But, I think a lot of this stuff is good for kind of benchmarking and seeing what your pluses are, and then working off a consistency so mechanically you're getting to where you need to be, more and more through your progression and training.
For sure. Totally agree with that.
So I think we only got like 40 minutes because we have more than 3 guys or something on the Zoom. So I'll just touch base. If you want to last 3 minutes or so, touch base on, kind of what you got going outside of baseball, the hats we got going on and stuff like that, and a little bit of background and kind of how these guys can kind of use that motto for anything, whether it's life, baseball, any other sports that they might play right now, some of the high school kids, and kind of use that moving forward.
Yeah, so what Matt's referring to is he's working on these hats for me. It's retain faith and forge through. For me, that's been kind of the motto that has driven me my whole life. It comes from this thing called the Stockdale paradox. If you get a chance to look it up, it's pretty interesting. It's an Army veteran, Stockdale, and what happened was he was a prisoner of war, right? And so as he's captured, he's with other prisoners of war, and he realizes over time that the people that are optimistic that they're going to get out tomorrow, or that they keep holding on to, we'll get out in a week, we'll get out in a month, they end up dying. And his mindset was face your brutal realities, retain faith, and forge through. So he identified what the situation he was that he's in, and he said, I'm going to embrace this. I'm going to believe that I'm going to get through it, but I'm going to face it straight on, and I'm going to grind my way until it's over. And eventually he did, and he's been talking about that ever since. He got out and writing books and stuff. So that's just a little bit of something that's driven me my whole life, and I encourage all of you guys to find something that is important to you and drives you, and you can always kind of reset. Like when things may go bad, you can say, okay, I got this to go back to, and this is who I am, and this helps me push forward.
I love it. Love it. Like you just said, that's good for life. I mean, it's not just in athletics or, baseball. That's good for schoolwork. That's good for life. That's for kind of anything that you encounter, any hardships down the line. So.
Absolutely, man. My last thing I would say to you guys is that we didn't really get to touch on, but the importance of working on your body, and not just in the weight room, but flexibility and mobility. That's the biggest piece of advice I can give you guys. And that's ultimately what led to all of my injuries. I did not put the time in to get my body right, to be able to play as many games as I did. I just worried about working out, getting stronger. Like that part is just as important, especially for pitchers.
I'm glad you brought that up because especially nowadays where, we're in a situation right now where there's no high school ball, but, you got Nate on here. Nate, college ball, if he was playing right now, logging innings, and he goes right into summer ball. We got guys in high school that they're going to be workhorses, log innings throughout the year, high school ball, and then boom, come that first week in June or whatever it is, or July when that first tournament comes, you're picking up right where you left off, and then there's another 30, 40 games throughout the summer.
Right.
So that's huge in terms of mobility, taking care of your body, elasticity, stuff like that. So that I'm glad you touched on that.
Yeah. If we get kicked off, guys, feel free to ask me send Matt any questions, and I can respond and let you guys know whatever you want to talk about or questions.
If you want, I think we might get kicked off if we start doing some questions and stuff. So what I'll do is I'll reach out to a lot of the guys on here. All you guys have my contact, obviously. Shoot me some questions, and then I can formulate them over to you, or I can pass along Dev's information with all you guys, and you can connect with them on Instagram, Twitter, whatever it is, and you can go back and forth, in the future, grab his email. If you guys have any other questions, you can reach out to him. So like I said, guys like Devin, they're here to help. That's the beauty of kind of being where I'm at, is I've been able to kind of be fortunate enough to meet so many great people in this game that, I want to bring them on. My girlfriend loves the podcast life and all, and I was never into it, but I figured this is, with the quarantine and stuff, this is a great opportunity for you guys in high school and college to kind of really learn from guys like Dev, who, he's in a major league organization. We got Justin Dunn coming up tomorrow. So there's tons of knowledge, and, these guys are all here. They were all in your position at one point, and they want to help you. So definitely take advantage of this kind of platform that these guys are on, and don't hesitate to ask questions or anything like that. So.
Awesome. Thanks for moderating, Matt. And guys, another thing, just enjoy it, man. Enjoy where you're at, enjoy the process, and have fun with your friends. Don't stress out about the future, because you got a lot of other things coming down in the future that are more stressful than this. So enjoy it. Enjoy your life right now.
Awesome. Thanks, Dev. I'll give you a call a little bit later too. All right.
Awesome. Talk to you guys.
I'll see you, fellas.
Hey, Walshy.
See you, Brendan.
See you, Coach.
I'm going for a walk tomorrow. I'll swing by.
Tomorrow? All right. I'll probably be outside.
I'll see you.